Good evening, Astro Club. Okay, so Jiawei, this is Christal. The night sky contains many wonders, which include stars, nebulae, moons, planets, and other deep sky objects. The richness of the night sky has intrigued the human race since ancient times. From the time of the very earliest civilizations, people have wondered about the world they live in, about how it all started and how it will end. As the first stable civilizations developed, there were always some who were fascinated by the night sky. The shepherd, in his lonely vigil, had plenty of time to study the sky, to learn about the positions of the stars and the phases of the moon and the sun. Let's see. One thing that fascinated people was that while the sun and the moon had their own independent motion, the stars maintained their pattern and the what? and the whole night sky seemed to revolve throughout the night about a point in the north. It was as though the sky was painted on the inside of a huge globe about the Earth. This globe was later known as the celestial sphere, and objects within it are divided into groups called constellations. Presenting to you constellations. So now let's watch a video.
From the Latin base co, meaning together with, stella, meaning star, the word constellation means a grouping of stars. Mapped out like a blueprint, constellations are patterns for the billions of stars that are scattered across our sky. Based on mythological stories of Greek gods, creatures, and animals, our heavens have more tales to tell than hieroglyphics at Giza. The meaning and movement of constellations were deeply rooted in Greek culture. Among them, Orion, the hunter, was said to have encountered a venomous scorpion. To escape from the creature, he jumped into the sea, which to the Greeks explained why the constellation Orion appeared from November to March, but disappeared as Scorpius rose to sting him. All of the constellations that we see in our night sky change position throughout the year. Why does this happen? The Earth spins on its axis, moving east to west, so objects appear to rise in the east and set in the west each day from our vantage point. As Earth continues its path around the sun, different constellations become visible at night, as the sun appears to be in different parts of the sky. There are a total of 88 recognized constellations by the IAU, 12 of which are zodiacs. Zodiac constellations differ from the rest of the 76 because they cross the path of the ecliptic, which is the path that our solar system's planets travel along each year. Because these constellations were so-called touched by the sun, Babylonian astronomers thought they bore significant importance. While viewing constellations, make sure to bring a Greek mythology book so that you can read the many tales of heroism and tragedy that these legends adorn in order to earn their place among our heavens.
Of all the branches of knowledge known to us, astronomy has always held a special place. It has a history that spans every era of human development. Its origins can be traced back to the earliest civilizations. Constellations were part of the historical records in Mesopotamian culture around 4000 BC. A great deal of astronomical mythology was handed down from the Sumerians. Constellations that we know today included Babylonian astronomers created the zodiac, which we will be explaining later on. So in the 8th century BC, Homer mentioned a few of the now familiar constellations in his epic poem, The Odyssey. 400 years later, Eudoxus of Cnidos, a student of Plato, wrote about 43 constellations which survive still today. Many of our present-day constellations are found in a book called the Almagest, written by Ptolemy. He made his own celestial observations from about 120 to 150 AD. Along with the usage of historical data, he was accused of plagiarism because the bulk of his star catalogue was undoubtedly Hipparchus' work 300 years ago. But to his defense, he added new stars to increase the number of entries from 850 to 1022. Before the advent of the heliocentric model of the universe, Ptolemy had to assume that the Earth was the center of the universe. Gravitation in Newtonian sense was not yet understood, but everyone knew that solid bodies fell towards the center of the Earth. Hence, Ptolemy deemed it necessary to explain the mechanism that held the stars and planets in the sky, which he also adopted the crystal sphere rotating daily about the Earth model. So, the 48 constellations listed in Ptolemy's Almagest are 21,000 constellations, 12 zodiacal constellations, as well as 15 southern constellations. All of Ptolemy's constellations are still in use today.
A famous Arabic astronomy text was included an updated version of the star coordinates. The Alphonsine tables was completed by scholars in Moorish Spain in 1252. And was updated again 200 years later by the great Tatar astronomer Ulugh. For well over 1,000 years, the Almagest, which was previously mentioned, was taken as the last word as the stars. That finally changed in 1536 when German globemaker added 2 new northern constellations, and after that, new constellations were invented at a rapid pace. In 1919, a group of astronomers formed the International Astronomical Union, IAU. One of the first items they tackled was the celestial disarray. The IAU made a list of the 88 official constellations in 1922, which we are currently observing, and approved the boundary of each 6 years later.
So, from very early in recorded history, the stars were important to people in their daily lives. The stars assisted the ancients in planning for the planting of their crops, guiding navigators on their many adventures, and as a way of telling time. Okay, so there's an astrology aspect and an astronomy aspect to it. So, based on sound astronomical principles, astrology has been shown to be useless when it comes to analyzing personalities and predicting the future. Nevertheless, many people today still choose to believe in astrology, and there's big business in casting horoscopes. mythology, the period of the time which each sign of the zodiac dominates is determined by the time in which the sun is in its corresponding constellation. It is not actually possible to observe a zodiacal constellation at night sky during the time its sign is dominant. Instead, look for the constellation in the exact opposite time of the year.
Okay, so now I will share about the constellations in the zodiac, and I will be talking about the story plus some interesting objects within the constellation. So the first of the zodiacal constellations is Aries, the Ram, which the sun passes through between March 21st and April 19th. It is located in the northern celestial hemisphere, and Aries specifically came to represent the ram which Phrixus sacrificed in order to bring fertility to his homeland in Thessaly, Greece. The golden fleece of the sacrificed ram was given to Jason and the Argonauts to return it home. Aries is a relatively dim constellation with only 4 bright stars in it: Hamel, Sharatan, Masathan, and 41 Erites, all 4 magnitude or less. The few deep sky objects are quite faint and include several pairs of interacting galaxies. Several meteor showers appear to radiate from Aries, including daytime Arides and epsilon Arides. So the Vernal Equinox, which is to when the sun passes through the celestial equator, used to be in Aries. However, the first point of Aries has shifted to Pisces due to the precession of the Earth. So the next constellation will be the Taurus the Bull. In Greek mythology, Zeus assumed the form of a white bull to win the heart of beautiful Europa. Europa was enchanted by the sight of this splendid creature and travelled with it to the island of Crete. Here, Europa gave birth to Minos, the father of the Minotaur, who was half bull, half man. Zeus celebrated his love for Europa by naming the constellation, the continent Europe, after her, and created the constellation Taurus to be seen in the sky as a symbol of fertility and power. The sun passes Taurus from April 20th to May 20th. Taurus houses many interesting objects, of which 2 of the nearest open clusters, the Pleiades and the Hyades, both visible to the naked eye. At first magnitude, the red giant Aldebaran is the brightest star in constellation. Also, in the northwest of Taurus is the supernova remnant Messier 1, more commonly known as the Crab Nebula. The variable star T Tauri, which is the prototype of a class of pre-main sequence star, was first observed in this constellation. After Taurus would be Gemini, the twins. Again, Zeus disguises as a graceful swan who visited Queen Leda of Sparta, whom gave birth to the twins, Castor and Pollux. Together, the twins grew to become skillful warriors. When Castor was killed in a battle, Pollux, who was so attached to his brother, could not bear to continue on without him. Stricken with grief and sorrow, Pollux asked their father, Zeus, to bring Castor back to life. Touched by the display of brotherly love, Zeus arranged for the twins to stay endlessly side by side among the stars as the brilliant constellation Gemini. The sun passes through Gemini from May 21st to June 21st. In Gemini, we are looking at the region of the Milky Way, rich in open clusters and planetary nebula. Gemini lies in the region of the Milky Way. Its 2 brightest stars are Castor and Pollux, both having magnitudes of below 2. Deep sky objects to note are the Eskimo Nebula and Medusa Nebula, which are also found within the constellation. Cancer the Crab is one of the smallest constellations in the sky. In Greek mythology, as Hercules struggled to defeat the hideous 9-headed Hydra, Queen Hera, his immortal enemy, ordered Cancer the Crab to go and harass the hero. The hero easily crushed the crab to pieces under the heel of his foot and went on to successfully destroy the monstrous snake. In gratitude for the crab's courageous attempt to fulfill her angry wrath, Hera gifted Cancer with a place among the stars as a constellation, beside the constellation of Hydra, the water snake. Cancer is Cancer stars are relatively faint. Its brightest star, Beta Cancri, has an apparent magnitude of 3.5. Located at the center of the constellation is Pransit, or Messier 44, one of the closest open clusters to the Earth, and a popular target for amateur astronomers.
Okay, so besides killing a crab, Hercules continued his reign of terror. So as his first labor, he actually killed the frightful lion Leo by strangling him with his bare hands. So Zeus felt bad for the poor lion, so he placed the proud and passionate lion in the heavens to eternally symbolize the challenges of kingship. The constellation of Leo also contains Regulus, known as the Star of the King. So the constellation Leo lies so far away from the Milky Way that the distance to the galaxy of Leo is in the order of 20 to 30 million light years. Next, we have Virgo, the Virgin. The Greeks and Romans associated Virgo with the goddess of wheat and agriculture, and Demeter Ceres, who is the mother of Proserpina. Alternatively, she was sometimes identified as the virgin goddess Astrea, holding the scales of justice in her hand as the constellation Libra. The constellation of Virgo is the center of the closest large clusters of galaxies and can easily take up several evenings of observation time. Next, we have Libra, the scales. Astrea, the Roman goddess of justice, became increasingly offended by the wickedness of her citizens and decided to flee from the corrupt civilization and return to the heavens. Astrea abandoned civilization so hurriedly that she left behind her golden scales of justice. The Romans, in fear of her judgment, created the constellation of Libra from the ancient scorpion claws so that the scales would always be nearby in the sky. It is very faint, with no first magnitude stars. And then we have Scorpio, the scorpion. Scorpius gained eternal fame when he delivered such a fatal sting to Orion that even the god of healing was unable to cure him. Scorpio is also remembered for prickling Apollo's horses with his lethal sting, causing the creatures to bolt and dive into the sun-bearing chariot recklessly through the heavens, dyeing up many rivers and scorching the earth below. Scorpius is a large and sprawling constellation which lies near the Milky Way and thus hosts many bright, open, and globular star clusters.
Sagittarius the archer. So when Chiron, the most famous of centaurs and the skillful archer, was mistakenly slain by his student Hercules, Zeus located Chiron in the sky as the constellation Sagittarius, where the archer stands with bow and arrow for all time. Within it lies the very heart of the Milky Way itself, providing vistas which are unparalleled in grandeur and diversity. Next, we have Capricorn, the sea goat. In Greek mythology, the constellation is sometimes identified as the goat that circled the infant Zeus after his mother. Transformed into this thing. So there's a region of the sky which is almost devoid of bright, deep sky objects. Okay, so for Aquarius, the water barrier in Greek mythology, Aquarius is represented by was carried off by an eagle to Mount Olympus to become the cupbearer of Zeus. The boy was kidnapped from Mount Ida in this place while tending a flock of sheep. So the bright planetary nebula is about 20 inches in diameter, elongated in this racial thing. It is blue-green and has obvious lobes protruding from opposite sides, giving the appearance of a distant ring planet. Okay, so for Pisces, the fishes, according to one Greek myth, Pisces represents the fish into which Venus and her son Cupid transformed in order to escape the monster typhoon. Okay, this marks the Vernal Equinox, the first day of spring in the northern hemisphere, and it contains few bright stars and only one important object, the face on spiral galaxy M74. So other important constellations include Canis Major, which houses Sirius, the brightest star as seen from Earth, Crux, the smallest constellation, serving as a guide to where the south celestial pole is, and this thing that contains the burden star, the second closest star to the Sun, which lies along the ecliptic plane but is not considered a zodiacal constellation due to historical reasons. And the Ursa Minor, which contains the North Star of Polaris.
And then we have the Ursa Major, which is the big bear, compared to the Ursa Minor, which is the small bear. It's the third largest constellation, and it represents Callisto, hunting partner of Artemis, who was seduced by Zeus and turned into a bear. Okay, Greek mythology screwed up, okay? By Zeus' jealous wife Hera. It points towards Polaris, the North Pole star, and the asteroid, the Big Dipper, is composed of the 7th brightest star in the Ursa Major. And then we have Hydra, which is the largest constellation, and in Greek mythology was a multi-headed monster slain by Hercules.
So, in conclusion, a constellation is a group of stars forming a recognizable pattern that is traditionally named after its apparent form or identified with a mythological figure. There are 88 recognized constellations by the IAU, and every star is classified into a constellation. The constellations are totally imaginary things that poets, farmers, and astronomers have made up over the past 6,000 years, and probably even more. The real purpose of constellations is just to help us tell which stars are which, nothing more. So, this brings us to the question, will constellations ever change? The short answer is yes. If stars never change, the constellations wouldn't change. But the stars, including the Sun, travel in their own separate orbits within the Milky Way galaxy. The stars move along with fantastic speeds, but they are so far away that it takes a long time for their motion to be visible to us. Besides their motion, the appearances of stars change as they age. So besides the changing position and appearance of stars, changing your position of observation of the universe also changes the shapes of the constellations, as the celestial sphere is not exactly a sphere, but all the objects are equidistant from Earth. So thank you.